Well, this morning I have the privilege of introducing to you our speaker. He works with Creation Truth Foundation, and his name is Dr. Charles Jackson. Now, he is one of the guys who helps do some oversight of the ministry of the Creation Truth Foundation, where he goes to Bible colleges and also university and teaches about creation versus evolution. And so today he's going to be sharing some of the things about dinosaurs and about the ark and the flood and all those things to us this morning. But let me just tell you a little bit about Dr. Jackson. He's got some degrees. He's got a degree in biology, science education, and environmental biology from George Mason University, and also a science education from the University of Virginia. And so I'd like for you to help me just give him a great big Oakwood welcome to Dr. Charles Jackson.
Well, there's a lot of different kinds of things that I could talk about in this whole thing of Bible and science and evolution and creation. We got the dinosaurs here. We got them out in the gap, and we got them in the sanctuary and all around. Corey asked me to talk about dinosaurs in the flood. This is actually a little representation of Noah's Ark that was on the History Channel. And they had an episode called Noah's Ark, The True Story, which was not any more true than that Russell Crowe movie on Noah. That would have been a hilarious, bad joke if it wasn't for that people believed it. People who don't read the Bible, who have never read the story, and it's not that long, it's only a couple chapters in Genesis, they thought that it was really blasphemous. The idea that, if a fallen angel, a demon, does a good deed, it gets saved and gets to go to heaven now, or dies, it gets to go. Weird stuff, just bad doctrine stuff. Not the truth, like the Bible says. But my people perish for lack of knowledge, says the Bible. So we really do need to know just even the basic account of the history of the world that's in the Bible, and then match that up to what people say, and that'll help you figure out what's true and what's not. So the History Channel wasn't too good. That's a pretty decent looking ark there, but later the story went bad as they said the true story, which in other words means not the Bible story. But this is a more biblical depiction of Noah's Ark. I mean, the dimensions here are right like the other one, but there's something else I want you to see. Right down there in the corner in front of the bow of the ark, under the water, there's a dinosaur drowning. Now, there's something that you don't see every day, but it's also something that's a little more accurate biblically. People say, okay, now, what's the Bible have to say about dinosaurs? I mean, dinosaurs aren't in the Bible. Well, the word dinosaur wasn't invented until 1841 by Sir Richard Owen, a great man of science and a great Bible-believing man. He was the first curator of the Royal Museum in London, and he opposed Charles Darwin's theory his entire life. And he invented the word dinosaur in 1841. And in 1611, when they translated the King James Bible, there wasn't a word dinosaur. But there are certain animals in the Bible that are described in pretty good detail, and we're going to look at some of those. And they all come under the category of the Tanian. Say Tanian. Tanian, that's Hebrew for dragon. Now, you're not going to find dinosaur in your Bible dictionary, but you will find dragon. And the creation scientists like myself pretty much figured that, well, the dinosaurs were around in Noah's day because God made the dinosaurs on day 6 of the world, the land dinosaurs, just the same day as he made Adam and Eve. And he made the flying dinosaurs, the pterosauria, and the swimming dinosaurs, the mosasaurs, on day 5 of the world, just like he made all the other swimming and flying creatures. And they're extinct now, not all of them, just the dinosaurian ones, the giant flying reptiles, the giant swimming reptiles, and the giant land-walking reptiles are all extinct. Many of the dinosaurs weren't very giant. The average size of a full-grown dinosaur is the size of a horse, because some of the dinosaurs are really little, and some of them were, of course, humongous. The humongous ones make the news. And I'm going to be teaching in Vacation Bible School this week. I'm going to have a lot of the younger kids. How many Vacation Bible School kids we got here? Raise your hand. How many Vacation Bible School kids we got here? Okay, thank you. Put your hands down now. And one time I actually taught 150 kindergartners in one day all about dinosaurs in 3 groups of 50. And my wife, who is a middle school special ed teacher, said, if you can do that, you can do anything. They're so cute, yeah. But at any rate, dinosaurs is the one topic that people of all ages really love. So if you want to, speak to a group of kindergartners through 11th graders, which I've done before, you got to go with dinosaurs. We're talking about dinosaurs in the flood. What did dinosaurs really have to do with the flood? Not much more than drowning in the flood. But they had a lot to do with the ark, because according to the Bible, Noah had to take animals, how many? 2 of each kind, 2 by 2, 7 of the clean ones and 7 of the birds. So dinosaurs would have had to have been on the ark, would have had to survive the flood. They probably became endangered species sometimes after the flood because of the changes in climate and the atmosphere on Earth, maybe because people were scared of them, because knights used to always slay the dragons, I don't know. There's a lot of theories on that, and none of them is for sure. We'll get into that. Okay. So dinosaurs would have had to have been on the ark. God tells Noah, you're going to take 2 of everything that has the breath of life in its nostrils, and dinosaurs had nostrils. So they breathed air. Now the swimming ones didn't need to get on the ark, like the whales and the dolphins, because they lived in the ocean anyway. Now the rough waters during Noah's flood, the mile-high tsunami, and the turbulence probably killed lots, especially of the larger animals that lived in the ocean. And many whales are extinct today. We still have the blue whale and the humpback whale and all that, but a lot of whales are extinct. We find them in the fossils. A lot of other creatures are extinct too. So some things in the ocean didn't make it through Noah's flood. But everything on the ark did. If they went extinct, they went extinct after that. Okay. Let's take a look at a Bible verse. In Job 40, God is describing his majesty to Job, and he uses animals that he created as an example. And one of them is, behold now behemoth. Actually, the full verse says, behold now behemoth, whom I made with thee. Because God did make the land-walking dinosaurs, all the land animals, on day 6 of the world, the same day that he made Adam. So he says to Job, I made dinosaurs with you humans. Behold now behemoth, or the behemoth, which is the Hebrew word. He eateth grass as an ox. Now, there were veggie-eating dinosaurs, and then there were the carny dinosaurs, the carnivores. He's chief in the ways of God. The biggest land animal probably that God ever made was the behemoth, or the behemoth. And even today, whenever we want to describe something really big, an old-fashioned word for huge is, it was behemoth. Means it's something large. He lieth under the shady trees. Now, atheists used to make fun of us for saying there was a large creature that could lay down under a shady tree, but now scientists all agree that the giant brachiosaur dinosaurs, which they were the ones that had the nostril in their forehead, and if you saw the first Jurassic Park movie, that's the one that sneezed on that girl. About a gallon of sneeze on the girl. And yes, that's true. Oh, I'm glad there are some that are not going to be shy with questions in Vacation Bible School. Okay. He lies under the shady trees. Well, now we found out that they like to stand in the deep water and then munch on the plants that grow on the side of the river. Well, now we understand how a large creature could lie under the shady trees. In the covert of the reeds and the fens, the willows of the brook compass him about. Well, if that's the only part of his body sticking out of the water, he could do that. Grazing around, his head would be under the trees. Behold, he drinketh up a river. He trusteth that he could draw up Jordan into his mouth. Now, it also says he swings his tail like a cedar. And back in those days, it was the cedars of Lebanon, which were giant Douglas fir kind of trees. So this big, giant, long tail would be what was being described in the book of Job. So probably this was a large sauropod dinosaur, maybe a brachiosaur, something that looked more like this, a Megasaurus or a brachiosaur or an Apatosaurus. And Job was probably looking at something like that, who swings his tail as a cedar of Lebanon. A lot of people, the Schofield Reference Bible is going to say it was probably an elephant or a hippopotamus or a rhinoceros. but they have little teeny weeny cookie duster tails. And so that would not do for the description that's in the Bible of this creature. That would be the order Dinosauria under class Reptilia. But also the giant swimming reptiles, the order Mosasauria. And we actually have a skull of a Tylosaur, which is one of these mosasaur dinosaurs, out in the gap there. And this creature, we believe, is the one that's being described in Job 41. Look what it says in the Bible, where God's describing the Leviathan to Job. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook? When he raiseth himself up, the mighty are afraid. His teeth are terrible round about. His scales are his pride, shut together so no air can come between them. None is so fierce that dare stir him up. Who then is able to stand before me? God was giving a spiritual lesson to Job by using one of the creatures he had created, the Leviathan, which we believe is one. I was watching Walking with Dinosaurs on PBS one time. I think it was the Discovery Channel. And there was this T-Rex walking on a sandbar by the ocean. And, the narrator's going, the most fierce predator of the Mesozoic, and they showed up close up its eye, this red eye darting back and forth. And just then, one of these things flops up out of the ocean, bites him, and drags him back into the water and eats a T-Rex for lunch. So the most fierce predator, they weren't talking about a T-Rex, they were talking about one of these, which the Bible describes and then labels it with the word Leviathan, which is also often used to describe something that's very, very big. So that would be the land-walking dinosaurs, the water-swimming dinosaur types, and then there's the flying dinosaurs, order Pterosauria, the giant flying reptiles. He's eating one of those for lunch there. The Bible mentions these too in a description in Isaiah 30 and in several other places in the Bible, and especially in Isaiah, it mentions large reptiles that could fly. In a list of normal other animals, look, the beasts of the south in the land of trouble and anguish, from whence come the young and old lion, the viper, and the fiery flying serpent. It just talks about flying reptiles like it's normal, like everybody knows these are alive and exist. So we creation scientists do believe the dragon legends came from the last few dinosaurs that were still, the last few dinosaur era reptiles that were still alive, and probably the last ones of them died out in the Middle Ages, giving rise to all of the legends of dragons that are in every major ancient culture in the world. And that makes a lot of sense from a lot of the recent science finds. We have recently found a Triceratops horn. Mark Armitage from UCal Riverside found a Triceratops horn that had soft, squishy tissue inside it. It wasn't petrified. It was the real ancient marrow from inside the horn, and was able to isolate the biological molecules from it. That couldn't last 90 million years, but it might last 4,363 years since the time of Noah's flood. Okay, let's go on a little bit here then. Okay, so I already had you say the word Tanian. Say it again. Tanian, there you go. Now you can speak Hebrew. It's a word dragon. And what this orange one here, we don't really know what color they were, but this orange one, which kind of dinosaur is that? Stegosaurus. Yes, you would have been right, I'm sure. You raised your hand, yes. So we got the hand raisers and we got the outblurters and all that. Okay. And you can tell by these bony plates on the back. Now, this one here you might not recognize, and it's accurate except for the little arrow on its tail. I don't know why they drew that. This is the Baryonyx. Now, in the Badlands of Montana, they dug up this fossil. This is a recreation of what the Baryonyx would have looked like when it was alive, and it looks a lot like the legends of the medieval dinosaurs. Dragons, like the one that King St. George slayed, and then the dragons in Chinese mythology also. So we think that these may have been the roots of those legends. Some of them could fly, and some of them walked on four legs, and some of them had sharp teeth, and some of them, the dinosaurs, were grazers. But the legends tend to combine it all. They all had four legs, they all could fly, they all had long necks, they all had long tails, and that's how the legends Now, they recently, in 2011, found a dinosaur fossil again in the Badlands, where there's a lot of dinosaur fossils, and it looks so much like the dragon drawings and sculptures and tapestries from the Middle Ages that they named this new dinosaur fossil Dracorex hogwartsia, named after the dragons that were depicted in the Harry Potter movies, because they took the appearance of dragons from from medieval paintings and stuff. So what did happen to the dinosaurs? Why are they all dead? There are a lot of different theories. The most popular one among scientists is that an asteroid called the impact theory hit the Earth and then caused the dinosaurs to go extinct. But really, why didn't it cause the alligators and the turtles to go extinct? Why only dinosaurian reptiles? Why only them? And for the creationists, since mammals existed since the beginning of the world and people existed from the beginning of the world, why was it just the dinosaurs? But about 8 years ago, all the paleontologists in the world got together and they voted it was an asteroid, so therefore it was an asteroid. Remember when we voted against Pluto? Kicked it out of the solar system, you know? Percival Lowell was probably wrong in 1930. Pluto probably always was a planetoid. But you know what? When we vote on stuff down here on the Earth, Pluto doesn't care. We think when we vote stuff, it changes reality, and that's not what science is. Science is discovering reality, not creating it. And we got to get away from this not telling the difference between opinions and facts anymore. It's almost like the smart-sounding opinions are as good as facts, and they're not, and they never have been, never will be, but people believe it now anyway. People still believe just because you feel something strongly, it must be true, or if enough people believe it. This is another theory that I've heard. Either you're slow readers, or it takes a long time. I've never had an audience laugh that long at that cartoon before. Maybe you all had coffee between services. Maybe that's it. You're cheerful. Now, like I said, you can see the nostril. They would have been on the ark, so that's just a joke. There's like 30 or so theories on why the dinosaurs became extinct. Voting it was an asteroid doesn't make it so. Here's a little joke by Sidney Harris, a science cartoonist. Look what he says. T. Radfield Burke, chemist, is the only person in all of science who does not have a theory about the extinction of the dinosaurs. Every scientist seems to have their own favorite theory that alkaloids built up in future generations of plants, and the dinosaurs couldn't metabolize them, so they all died of indigestion. There's all kinds of different theories on this, and nobody really knows. But they would have been on Noah's Ark. There you go. Oh, what's those purple ones? Oh. No, the scientific name. Oh my gosh, we're going to have a little re-education we have it to do. You know, that's right. I love you, you love me, you know. Okay, those are T-Rexes, and they're walking on their way. This way to my ark, signed Noah, along with the kangaroos, the koala bears, and the T-Rexes. I know they're purple in the picture, but it's not Barney. Okay. Oh, this is going to be rough. Okay, so dinosaurs would have gotten on the ark with the elephants and giraffes and everything else. And the ark was actually, if you actually look at the measurements in the Old Testament and change the cubits into feet, we think a cubit was about 18 inches, the distance of a full-grown man's elbow to the tip of his longest finger, about 18 inches, about 1.5 feet. The ark's supposed to be 300 cubits long. That would be 450 feet long, 1.5 football fields. 450 feet stem to stern, 75 feet wide, 45 feet high, and it had 3 decks inside, 3 floors. That's a lot of floor space, and the ark would have contained the same volume as 522 railroad boxcars. Actually, that's plenty of room for all the animals that would have needed to get on the ark. Like I said, the whales and dolphins would have been fine and need to get on the ark. And all the food they would need and the water and everything. You could actually do this. The ark would have been the largest wooden vessel ever built by mankind. Now, the Titanic would be bigger, aircraft carriers bigger, but the ark didn't need to be that big to do the job of 2 of every kind of land animal, and the descendants of them are still alive today. There were 8 people on the ark, and we're all descended from Noah and his 3 sons and their 3 wives. So there were 3 breeding pools, 3 breeding couples on the ark. But the ark couldn't be much bigger than this and be made out of wood, because wood can't take the twisting stress of very, very rough high seas during Noah's flood, like steel could. So if it was much, much bigger, it would have been twisted in half by the raging seas during Noah's flood. And if you had put masts on the ark, like a sailing vessel, those would have swayed in the breeze and twisted the ark in half, just like wringing a neck. But the ark didn't have to have masts with sails on it, because the ark wasn't designed to go anywhere. What did the ark have to do? It had one job. It just had to float. Okay, there you go. Good group. I was getting worried for a little while. Now, here's an interesting thought here. This guy says, the story of Noah's flood isn't real. Noah could never fit all those animals into the ark. And the other guy says, well, how big was the ark, and how many animals did Noah need in it? I don't know. But Noah could never have fit all those animals onto the ark. You see, people criticize and mock and ridicule and make fun of the Bible and the Noah's flood and everything. And scientifically, if you actually start thinking about it, it makes a lot of sense. But they'll make fun of something before they know anything about it, just to be mean, bitter, and well, they're being used, I think, by the devil as the devil's spokesman today. Actually, they all make fun of Noah's flood, but they all believe there was a flood on Mars. The planet Mars, which today is a desert, Gray, just like Luke Skywalker's home planet of Tatooine. The whole planet is a desert. Now, Mars has oceans, beaches, rivers, streams, lakes, and a Grand Canyon bigger than ours, but the whole thing's dried up. Dry as a bone, dry as a bone. Someone pulled the plug on a bathtub. Mars actually has only 38% the gravity of Earth, so when water evaporates, makes clouds, the clouds rarefy and just float off into space, and so that's how the flood on Mars, how all the water left Mars, and why Mars is a desert today. They believe in a giant flood covering the entire planet Mars, but they won't believe a flood on our planet, which right now is only 1/4 land, and the rest of Earth is 2 miles deep water. You see the problem? So when they criticize us, just remember, science is on our side, and this is also good logic here. The ark was plenty big enough to hold all the animals and all the food and everything. As a matter of fact, creation scientists have calculated this and found that the ark was 50% bigger than it really needed to be. So we creation scientists were freaking out. Why did God make Noah go to all that extra trouble? And so we asked the Bible scholars amongst the creation community and the church, and they said, well, you silly egghead scientists, don't you understand what that was for? And I told the first service, if you saw Evan Almighty, you'd know what I'm about to say. That was the extra room on the ark for people. Noah preached, the Bible says, for 100 years, trying to convince people the end was coming and they needed to get on the ark. But they didn't. But you know what? There was room on the ark. There was room on the ark for people to come along. And I'm sure Noah brought enough food for whoever, but nobody did. Nobody did. And of course now we realize there's a theological implication. There's room at the cross for you. The cross is like an ark that saves us from the destruction to come. And salvation in those days, in Noah's day, was getting on the ark. Of course, there's salvation in God, but there was salvation from the judgment of God from the flood by getting on the ark. And nobody did, except Noah and his wife, Mrs. Noah. We never find out her name. Their 3 sons, and then the 3 boys, 3 wives, and 8 people on the ark. The ark was plenty big. This is a full-grown sauropod dinosaur shown next to the Ark to scale, and also a Boeing 747 Superjet, and a full-grown elephant and giraffe. But you really wouldn't have to take full-grown dinosaurs. You could take littler ones. It took them a long time to get to their full, gigantic, how many of you saw Land Before Time, Littlefoot, Ducky, and all the little friends, And the long-necked dinosaurs, like Littlefoot's grandparents, they were really, really old to get that big. There was plenty of stalls on the Ark in the floors. We think that this is what it probably looked. You've got some pretty good recreations of what the inside of the Ark would look like here for Vacation Bible School. And people will make fun of how could we fit the dinosaurs on the Ark. Well, if you think about it, how big were the dinosaurs? Well, I mentioned the brachiosaur and the apatosaur next to a full-grown elephant and hippopotamus. It's pretty big. 110 feet tall when they stood on their hind legs to eat out of the tops of trees. 140 feet, tip of the nose to the tip of the tail, and about 100 tons in weight. So they were pretty big. But how big were dinosaurs? Again, I mentioned you could bring younger ones. You don't have to bring these granddaddy and grandmama dinosaurs. How young could you get them? Egg, from an egg, yeah. Dinosaurs are hatched from eggs. Actually, elephants and hippopotamuses would be worse problem because you got to take a baby elephant and let him nurse off his mama before you can take him on a trip like that. And by that time, he's like 500 or 800 pounds. Same thing with rhinoceroses and hippopotamuses and giraffes. They'd be like 500 pounds by the time they were ready to get on the Ark. Dinosaur would hatch out of an egg and ready to go. There you go. That is not Barney, okay? It's not even purple, okay? That's a puppet dinosaur hatching out of an egg. But the biggest dinosaur egg ever discovered in the fossil record, a petrified egg, was the size of a regulation football. And that would be for the most gigantic, those 140-foot-long dinosaurs, which means that when they were babies, they were only about the size of a poodle. That would be easy to carry on the Ark, and there'd be plenty of room. It wouldn't hurt the other animals, take up much room, or make as much poop to clean up. So here's, we always find petrified dinosaur eggs. Petrified means turned into stone. And here are some other dinosaur eggs about the size of melons. And this is a dinosaur egg, one of the bigger ones ever found. They found a petrified nest of petrified dinosaur eggs, and this is found in India. You can see the man's hand holding the petrified egg, and you can see the scale of it. Like I said, the biggest one ever found was the size of a football. So that means baby dinosaurs, even the giant ones, weren't any bigger than the size of a football. So how did Noah fit dinosaurs on the Ark? Here's a hint. The largest dinosaur eggs are only the size of a football. Well, how did God fit dinosaur into eggs that are only the size of a football? You see, that's when they're babies, they would fit. And that's how it would work. So there's another baby dinosaur hatching out. What kind of dinosaur is that? Stegosaurus, yes. You can tell by the telltale bony plates on the back. This is an actual fossil of a petrified dinosaur baby trying to hatch out of its egg. It was petrified right in the middle of trying to hatch out of its egg. You can see the eggshell used to go right here, and his nose was sticking out. Something big happened. Something just covered this baby dinosaur nest in mud and suffocated him right in the middle of trying to hatch out. We've got a ichthyosaur fossil out in the hallway in the gap that shows that this mother ichthyosaur was in the middle of having a baby when something flushed mud all over her, buried her, and petrified her skeleton also. So something big, something sudden killed a lot of dinosaurs. We usually see dinosaurs when they're petrified. Their skeletons are in what we call the death pose, the death gasp, where they've got their necks arched all the way back, like they're trying desperately to get a breath. And we find bird fossils like that, all other kind of animals too, which means they were all probably buried by sand, silt, clay, and mud that was washed around by water, and they died suffocated, and then their bones got petrified. And here's a little mock. Those are not real, okay? It's a little mock-up of models of what small dinosaurs would maybe look like, maybe baby ones, in a stall on the ark. And so after the flood was flooded the earth and Noah's ark was still floating around, the whales would have been okay. Like I said, a lot of the whales would have been crushed or smashed or destroyed, had their backs broken by the tidal waves from Noah's flood. And a lot of whales did go extinct. We still have the blue whales and things like that. The plesiosaurs, as far as we know, made it through the flood, but they're all extinct now unless the Loch Ness Monster is real. Okay? And we got dinosaur feet and human feet, looks like a cow there, and some fish that have their faces buried in the mud. Just like it's hard for you to breathe when there's smoke in the air, it's hard for fish to breathe when there's mud in the water, all stirred up like during Noah's flood. And we actually do find millions of fish skeletons all smashed together and petrified in layers of fossil rock all around the world. So something did kill millions of fish all at the same time. And some of them survived, of course. How many salmon had to live through Noah's flood for there to be salmon today? Just two, a mama and a daddy, and they had to find each other and have eggs, and then we could have all of the salmon from today. Now, if there were creatures that couldn't find each other in the water after Noah's flood, then they would go extinct. The whales can actually hear each other's songs 500 miles underneath the water. So whales, if there were two, a mama and a daddy whale left, they would have been able to find each other, not too difficult. Okay, and all these different normal, like a cheetah, you got some horses, but you also have pterodactyls and T-Rexes all getting on the ark. The point, and it's just a small point within the whole matter of this science and scripture and evolution and creation stuff and world history according to the Bible worldview versus according to atheist worldview or secular worldview. Just one of these narrow things to talk about, but very interesting is the idea of dinosaurs and the ark and the flood in biblical history of the world. So we've given you that today. We'll give some more in Vacation Bible School. That we only have little lessons to do. We'll work with the kids, and I'll hopefully have some time to answer questions. And plus, anybody here after this service, I'll stay up here sitting in the front. And if anyone wants to come talk or ask me any science question you got, something you saw in Omni, Discover magazine, or National Geographic, or you saw it on the Animal Planet or History Channel or something like that, or a professor or teacher said it, please bring any question that has disturbed you to me. It probably has an easy answer. Don't worry about stumping me. If I don't know the answer, I'll just tell you I don't. But let's not let any unanswered questions stymie your faith. We don't need that. And this is contact information for me and Creation Truth Foundation in Noble, Oklahoma. I live not too far from there. I used to live right in Noble and could walk to work. And I do hope that you've been encouraged. I hope that your faith has been strengthened, and at least this has gotten you to think about some important questions about whether the world and its history works better according to the Bible or according to man's history, which is at best a poor reconstruction. God bless you. Be encouraged, my brothers and sisters.